They stood in my living room, my own children, with rehearsed smiles and legal documents, telling me I was too old to manage my own life. Sign this power of attorney, Mom, or we'll have no choice but to put you in a home. I looked at their faces, these strangers I'd raised, and I said the words that would change everything. You're right. I am too old. My name is Patricia Hartwell, and I'm 73 years old. I'd love to know where you're watching this from today. Drop your state or country in the comments. What I'm about to tell you is the absolute truth about what happened when my children tried to steal everything I'd worked my entire life to build. It started 6 months ago when my husband Robert passed away. He'd been sick for 2 years, and I'd cared for him every single day. We'd been married for 48 years. The morning after his funeral, before the flowers had even wilted, my daughter Jessica showed up at my door with her brother Michael. They didn't come to comfort me. They came with paperwork. "Mom, we need to talk about your future," Jessica said, settling into Robert's favorite chair like she already owned it. She worked in real estate, always wore those sharp blazers that made her look important. Michael nodded along. He's a financial advisor, always talking about portfolios and investments I supposedly didn't understand. "Dad's gone now, and this house is too much for you," Michael added, pulling out a folder. "We've been talking, and we think it's time to make some changes." I'd just buried my husband. I was grieving, and they wanted to talk about changes. "What kind of changes?" I asked, though something cold was already settling in my stomach. Jessica leaned forward with that practiced sympathy I'd seen her use on her real estate clients. "We want to help you, Mom, but we need you to sign power of attorney over to us. That way, Michael and I can handle everything, the bills, the house, your medical decisions. You won't have to worry about a thing." I looked at the documents they'd spread across my coffee table. Legal jargon I couldn't quite follow, lines highlighted where I needed to sign. "I can manage my own affairs," I said quietly. "Can you, though?" Michael's voice had an edge now. Dad handled everything. The bills, the maintenance, all of it. "When's the last time you even balanced a checkbook?" "I balanced checkbooks before you were born," I replied. Jessica exchanged a look with Michael. That look, like I was a problem to be solved. "Mom, we're trying to be patient here. But if you won't cooperate, we'll have to consider other options. Memory care facilities, assisted living. We can get a doctor to declare you incompetent if we need to." The threat hung in the air between us. "Think about it," Jessica said, standing up. "We'll be back next week. Make the right choice, Mom. We're doing this for your own good." They left me sitting there, surrounded by sympathy cards from the funeral, facing the reality that my own children were threatening to institutionalize me if I didn't hand over control of my entire life. But they'd made one critical mistake. They assumed that just because I was old, I was helpless. After they left, I sat in that living room for hours. The house felt different now, not like a home, but like a prison I was about to lose. Robert and I had bought this place in 1978. I'd painted every room, planted every flower in the garden. We'd raised Jessica and Michael here, put them through college, helped with their first apartments, their weddings, everything. And now they wanted to take it all away. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying Jessica's words. "We can get a doctor to declare you incompetent if we need to." The threat was real. I'd seen it happen to my friend Helen 2 years ago. Her son had her declared incompetent, took power of attorney, sold her house, and stuck her in a facility where she died within 8 months. She'd been perfectly fine mentally, just old. That's when I realized something important. They thought I was weak. They thought grief had made me vulnerable. They thought I'd just roll over and sign whatever they put in front of me because I was too tired or too old or too sad to fight back. They were wrong. The next morning, I called my caregiver, Maria Santos. She'd been coming 3 times a week since Robert got sick, helping with errands, keeping me company, making sure I took my medications. She was 42, kind, and treated me like a human being instead of a burden. When Robert died, she'd held my hand and cried with me. She didn't ask about paperwork or my assets. She asked if I was eating, if I was sleeping, if I needed anything. "Maria," I said when she arrived, "I need to tell you something, and I need you to keep it completely confidential." She sat down at my kitchen table, concern written across her face. "Mrs. Hartwell, what's wrong?" I told her everything. About Jessica and Michael's visit, about the power of attorney demands, about the threats of putting me in a home. Maria's expression shifted from concern to anger. "They can't do that to you," she said. "Yes, they can," I replied. "If they want to badly enough, they'll find a way. But I have a plan, and I need your help." Over the next 3 hours, I explained what I wanted to do. Maria listened, her eyes widening as she understood the scope of it. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "Are you absolutely sure about this?" she asked. "Once you do this, there's no going back. They're your children." "They stopped being my children the moment they threatened to institutionalize me," I said. My voice was steady. "They're after my assets, not my well-being, and I'll be damned if I let them win." Maria nodded slowly. "Okay, I'm in. Whatever you need." That's when I started making phone calls. First to my lawyer, Marcus Chen. No, that's not right. My lawyer was Martin Fletcher, a man I'd known for 30 years. He'd handled Robert's will and estate planning. When I told him what was happening, I could hear the disgust in his voice. "Patricia, what you're describing is elder abuse," he said. "It's more common than you'd think, and it's devastating. Let's talk about your options." Martin explained that what Jessica and Michael were attempting was called undue influence, using threats and manipulation to coerce an elderly person into signing over their assets. The problem was, even if it was wrong, it was often effective. If they petition for guardianship and find the right doctor to evaluate you, they could succeed, Martin said. "I've seen families tear each other apart over less. But you have advantages. You're of sound mind, you have documentation of your cognitive abilities, and you still have control of your assets. For now." "I want to transfer the house to Maria," I told him. There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Your caregiver?" "Yes, I also want to make her my medical proxy and beneficiary of my accounts. I want it done legally and properly so that Jessica and Michael can't contest it." "Patricia, I need to ask you this directly. Is anyone pressuring you to do this?" "The only people pressuring me are my children, and I'm doing this to stop them," I said firmly. "Maria has been more family to me in the last 2 years than Jessica and Michael have been in the last 20. She's earned it." Martin was quiet again, then said, "All right, I'll draw up the documents. But we need to do this carefully. We'll need witnesses who can testify you were of sound mind. We'll need documentation of the threats your children made, and we'll need to move quickly before they take action. Can you come to my office tomorrow?" "I'll be there." That evening, Maria and I sat down to plan every detail. I pulled out my phone and found the voice recording app. The next time Jessica and Michael came over, I'd record everything. I needed evidence of their threats. "What if they don't say anything incriminating?" Maria asked. "They will," I said. "They think they've already won. People get careless when they think they're in control." Over the next few days, I gathered every document I needed. Bank statements, property deeds, medical records, letters from my doctor confirming my cognitive health. I even got a complete neurological evaluation done, paying cash so Jessica and Michael wouldn't find out through insurance records. The results came back perfect. No signs of dementia, no cognitive decline. For a 73-year-old woman, your mental acuity is remarkable, the neurologist said. Your memory, reasoning, and decision-making abilities are all well above average for your age group. I got it all in writing. 6 days after their first visit, Jessica called. "Mom, we're coming over Thursday evening. Have you thought about what we discussed?" "I have," I said, keeping my voice shaky and uncertain. I think you're right. I am too old for all this." I could hear the satisfaction in her voice. "That's good, Mom. That's really good. We're just trying to help you." "I know, sweetie." I know. When I hung up, Maria looked at me. You're a better actress than I thought. 50 years of motherhood teaches you how to play a role, I replied. Thursday evening, they're going to come here expecting me to sign my life away. Instead, they're going to find out that I'm not the helpless old woman they think I am. Thursday arrived with perfect autumn weather, sunny, crisp, the kind of day that makes you grateful to be alive. I woke up early and went through my morning routine. Coffee, the crossword puzzle, watering my plants. Everything normal, everything calm. Inside, though, my heart was racing. At 10 a.m., I met with Martin at his office. Maria came with me as a witness. The documents were ready: deed transfer, medical proxy designation, power of attorney assignment, all in Maria's name. Martin had also prepared a living trust that protected my remaining assets. Once you sign these, the house will be Maria's, Martin explained. Your children won't be able to touch it. The medical proxy means Maria makes all healthcare decisions if you're incapacitated. Are you absolutely certain? I picked up the pen. I've never been more certain of anything in my life. I signed. Maria signed. The witnesses signed. Martin notarized everything. Just like that, 46 years of building equity in my home was transferred to a woman I'd known for 2 years instead of the children I'd raised. There's one more thing, I said, pulling out my phone. I need copies of these sent to Jessica and Michael tomorrow morning. Not today. Tomorrow. I want one more night in my house before they know. Martin nodded. I'll have my secretary email them first thing at 9 a.m. Perfect. They're supposed to come over at 6 tonight. What are you planning, Patricia? Martin asked, though I think he already knew. I'm planning to have one last dinner with my children, I said, and then I'm going to change every lock in my house. We stopped by the hardware store on the way home. I bought new locks for every door. Front, back, side entrance, even the garage. Heavy-duty deadbolts, the kind that make a statement. The young man at the counter looked confused when this elderly woman asked for his help loading 5-door lock sets into her cart. Home security project, I explained with a smile. Back at the house, I called a locksmith. I need an emergency lock change today, all exterior doors. Can you come at 8 tonight? That's pretty late, ma'am, he said. I'll pay double your normal rate. Cash. I'll be there at 8 sharp. Everything was falling into place. At 4 p.m., my phone rang. Jessica. Mom, Michael and I were thinking, why don't we take you out to dinner tonight? There's a new steakhouse downtown. Our treat. My hand tightened on the phone. They were planning to celebrate. They were so sure I was going to sign everything over that they were already planning their victory dinner. That sounds lovely, dear, I said. What time? We'll pick you up at 6. Actually, why don't I meet you there? I need to run some errands first. 7 o'clock? Are you sure you can drive, Mom? I've been driving since before you were born, Jessica. I'll be fine. After we hung up, I looked at Maria. They're taking me to dinner to celebrate stealing my life. While we're there, they'll probably bring up the power of attorney again, expect me to sign it over dessert. What are you going to do? Maria asked. I'm going to let them think they've won, I said, and then I'm going to come home to my newly secured house. At 6:30, I got into my car, a 12-year-old Honda that Robert and I had bought together, nothing fancy but reliable. I drove to the steakhouse, a place with white tablecloths and prices that made my practical heart wince. Jessica and Michael were already there, seated at a corner table with martinis in front of them. Mom! Jessica stood up and hugged me, all warmth and affection now that she thought she'd won. You look nice. I dressed carefully, a simple blue dress, my pearl earrings, sensible shoes, the picture of a grandmother who was ready to cooperate. Michael pulled out my chair. We already ordered you a glass of wine, Chardonnay, your favorite. We made small talk at first. Jessica talked about her latest real estate deals. Michael discussed the stock market. I smiled and nodded, playing the role of the proud mother. The waitress took our orders. I chose the cheapest item on the menu. Old habits die hard, but Jessica insisted I get the ribeye. Our treat, remember, she said. Tonight's a celebration. "What are we celebrating?" I asked innocently. Jessica and Michael exchanged a look. "Well, Mom," Michael began, pulling out that same manila folder from his briefcase, "we're celebrating you making a smart decision. You've thought about the power of attorney, right?" "I have," I said quietly. "And?" Jessica leaned forward eagerly. I took a sip of wine, letting the moment stretch. "You were right. I am too old to manage everything myself. The house is too big. The bills are too complicated. I don't know what I'm doing anymore." The relief on their faces was almost comical. Jessica reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Oh, Mom, I'm so glad you're being reasonable about this. We were so worried you'd be stubborn." "No," I said. "I'm not stubborn. I'm just tired." Michael slid the documents across the table. "These are the power of attorney papers. If you sign them tonight, we can start handling everything tomorrow. We'll make sure all the bills are paid. We'll get the house listed." "Listed?" I interrupted. "Well, yes," Jessica said. "The housing market is excellent right now. We can probably get $450,000 for your place. Maybe more. We'll find you a nice apartment somewhere, something manageable, or maybe assisted living would be better. Either way, you won't have to worry about anything." $450,000. They'd already priced my house, already planned how to spend my life's investment. "I see," I said. "So you'll sign?" Michael pushed the papers closer, held out a pen. I looked at those documents. Then I looked at my children. These people who'd spent more time calculating my net worth than asking how I was handling my grief. The waitress brought our salads. We ate while they talked about their plans for helping me. Plans that involved liquidating everything Robert and I had built and parceling it out among themselves. If you're watching this and you've ever felt betrayed by the people who were supposed to love you, hit that subscribe button. Because what happened next is something you won't want to miss. I ate my ribeye slowly. I let them order dessert. I smiled and nodded as they outlined their vision for my future. A future that didn't include my home, my independence, or my dignity. At 9:15, dinner finally ended. Jessica insisted on paying, magnanimous now that she believed she'd won. Michael walked me to my car, actually offered to drive me home. "I'm fine, dear," I said. "It's only 10 minutes." "Did you bring the papers?" Jessica called out. "To sign?" "I left them at home," I said. "Why don't you both come by tomorrow afternoon? I'll sign everything then. I just want one more night to adjust to the idea." They exchanged another look, but nodded. "Tomorrow at 2?" Michael confirmed. "Perfect." I drove home with my hand steady on the wheel, my mind clear. Everything was in motion now. At 8:05, exactly as promised, the locksmith arrived. His name was Dave, a grandfather himself, retired from the fire department and doing locksmith work to stay busy. "All the exterior doors," he confirmed. "Every single one." He got to work. I watched him remove the old locks, locks that Jessica and Michael had keys to, locks they'd walked through hundreds of times as children. Dave installed the new deadbolts efficiently, tested each one, and handed me a set of shiny new keys. "These are good locks, Mrs. Hartwell," he said. "Heavy duty. Nobody's getting through these without your permission." "That's exactly what I need," I said. I paid him in cash, watched him drive away, then walked through my house, locking and unlocking each door, feeling the solid click of the new mechanisms. My house. Protected. Mine. I called Maria. "It's done." "How do you feel?" she asked. "Like I can breathe again." That night, I slept better than I had since Robert died. No nightmares about nursing homes or competency hearings. No anxiety about losing everything. Just peace. Friday morning arrived bright and clear. At 9 a.m., exactly as planned, Martin's secretary sent the documents to Jessica and Michael's email addresses, copies of the deed transfer, the medical proxy designation, everything. I poured myself a cup of coffee and waited. The first call came at 9:17. Jessica. I didn't answer. 9:23. Michael. Voicemail. 9:31. Jessica again, then Michael. Then both of them, back and forth, 15 calls in 30 minutes. I listened to the voicemails later. The progression was fascinating. First confusion. Mom, we got some documents that don't make sense. Can you call us? Then anger. What the hell did you do? Then panic. Mom, please pick up. We need to talk about this. This isn't legal. You can't do this. But I could, and I had. At 11 a.m., my doorbell rang, then pounded, then rang again. I looked through the peephole. Jessica and Michael, both of them red-faced and furious. Mom, open this door, Jessica shouted. We know you're in there, Michael added. We need to talk about this. I stood on the other side of my new locks, completely calm. We can talk through the door, I said. Open the door, Jessica demanded. No, this is my house, and I decide who comes inside. Your house? Michael's voice went up an octave. According to these papers, it's Maria's house now. What the hell were you thinking? I was thinking that you threatened to put me in a home if I didn't give you power of attorney, I said clearly. I was thinking that you've been planning to sell my house and liquidate my assets, so I made other arrangements. There was a moment of stunned silence on the other side of the door. Then Jessica recovered. Mom, you don't understand what you've done. That woman is taking advantage of you. This is elder abuse. I almost laughed. The woman who threatened to have me declared incompetent is accusing someone else of elder abuse? That's rich, Jessica. We never threatened you, Michael said, but his voice lacked conviction. Actually, you did. I have it recorded, every word from your first visit. We can get a doctor to declare you incompetent if we need to. Ring any bells? Another silence. Longer, this time. You recorded us. Jessica's voice was shrill now. I protected myself from people who were trying to steal my life, I corrected. And before you start threatening legal action, know that I have a neurological evaluation from this week showing perfect cognitive function. I have medical records. I have witnesses to your threats. I have everything documented. Martin Fletcher has copies of everything. Fletcher, Michael said. That bastard helped you do this? That lawyer helped me protect myself from my own children, I said. Now, I'm going to tell you how this is going to work. You're going to leave my property right now. You're not going to harass Maria. You're not going to contest anything in court because you'll lose and look like the greedy children you are. And maybe, someday, if you figure out how to treat me like a human being instead of a bank account, we can have a conversation about rebuilding our relationship. You're insane, Jessica shouted. We're getting a lawyer. Get 10 lawyers, get 100. It won't change anything. The house is transferred. The medical proxy is assigned. Everything is legal, proper, and documented. You lost, Jessica. Not because I'm incompetent, but because I'm not. I heard Michael say something to Jessica in a low voice. Then Jessica's voice came back, trying a different tack. Mom, please, we can fix this. We were just trying to help. You know we love you. If this is what your love looks like, I don't want it, I said. Goodbye, Jessica. Goodbye, Michael. I walked away from the door. They kept ringing the bell, kept pounding, kept shouting for another 20 minutes. Then, finally, silence. I looked through the window and watched them get into Jessica's Mercedes and drive away. My phone rang continuously for the next 3 hours. I blocked their numbers. Then they tried calling from different phones, probably their spouses' phones, friends' phones. I didn't answer any of them. By evening, I got a text from an unknown number. This isn't over. We're getting our inheritance back. I forwarded it to Martin. His response came quickly. That text is evidence of their true motivation. Save everything. Don't respond. Maria came over that evening. We sat in my kitchen, drinking tea, and I told her everything that had happened. She looked worried. Mrs. Hartwell, are you sure about all of this? They're your children. Maybe there's a way to... To what? I interrupted gently. To give them another chance to threaten me? To pretend they care when they only care about money? Maria, they priced my house. They planned where to put me. They were going to erase my entire life and call it love. She nodded slowly. What happens now? Now we wait and see what they do next. What they did next was hire a lawyer, Not just any lawyer, Harrison Blackwell, known around town for aggressive litigation. On Monday morning, I received a certified letter, notice of intent to contest deed transfer and initiate guardianship proceedings. I called Martin immediately. They're claiming undue influence, mental incapacity, and fraud. He read from his copy of the letter. They're saying Maria manipulated you into signing over your assets while you were in a vulnerable state of grief. Can they win? I asked. Not with the evidence we have, but they can make it expensive and ugly. Blackwell's strategy is probably to drag this out until you're too exhausted to fight, then offer a settlement. I'm not settling. Good, because we're going to destroy them. The guardianship hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. Jessica and Michael hired a psychiatrist, Dr. Raymond Walsh, known for finding incompetence where none existed if the price was right. He'd made a career out of rubber-stamping questionable guardianship petitions. But Martin had been preparing for this. He subpoenaed all of their financial records, their emails, their text messages. What we found was damning. Email from Jessica to Michael, dated 3 weeks before Robert died. Dad's not going to make it much longer. We need a plan for Mom's assets. She'll be too emotional to think straight. Text from Michael to Jessica, dated 1 week after the funeral. Mom's vulnerable right now. If we move fast, we can get POA before she realizes what she's doing. Email from Jessica to a real estate colleague. I'll have a property listing coming soon, probably $450K range, estate situation, elderly owner being moved to assisted living. That last one was dated 2 days before their first visit to my house. They'd been planning this before they ever asked me to sign anything. Martin scheduled depositions. Jessica went first. Under oath, facing Martin's questions and her own written words, she started to crumble. Isn't it true, Ms. Hartwell, that you told your mother you would have her declared incompetent if she didn't sign power of attorney over to you? That's not. We were just trying to help her. Help her? Or help yourself? You'd already priced her house before even discussing it with her, hadn't you? I was just researching options. Options for whom? Your mother or your bank account? Michael's deposition was worse. He was a financial advisor. He should have known better than to put anything in writing. But there it was. Detailed spreadsheets showing how he and Jessica would split my assets, emails to his wife about using the money for their daughter's college fund, text messages celebrating how easy I was going to be to manipulate. Dr. Walsh never even got to examine me. Once Martin presented the evidence of Jessica and Michael's premeditation and planning, once he showed their communications proving they knew I was competent but vulnerable, the whole case collapsed. Blackwell called Martin 2 days before the hearing. My clients wished to withdraw their petition. Not good enough, Martin said. Your clients attempted financial exploitation of a vulnerable senior. They're going to withdraw their petition, sign a statement acknowledging Mrs. Hartwell's competence, and agree to a no-contact order. Or we're going to trial, and I'm going to make sure every detail of their scheme gets read into public record. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then Blackwell said, I'll talk to them. The final hearing was anticlimactic. Jessica and Michael sat in the courtroom, looking smaller somehow, diminished. They'd tried to dress respectably, Michael in a suit, Jessica in one of her sharp blazers, but they couldn't meet my eyes. Their lawyer stood and read the statement. The petitioners withdraw all claims regarding Patricia Hartwell's mental capacity and deed transfer. They acknowledge that Mrs. Hartwell is of sound mind and capable of managing her own affairs. They agree to a 6-month no-contact order and wish to apologize for any distress caused. The judge, a woman in her 60s named Carolyn Morrison, looked at Jessica and Michael with barely concealed disgust. Let me be clear, she said. This court takes elder abuse seriously. What you attempted to do to your mother, exploiting her grief, threatening her with institutionalization, planning to liquidate her assets, is unconscionable. You should be grateful she's not pressing criminal charges. Your Honor, Jessica started. I'm not finished, Judge Morrison cut her off. I've reviewed all the evidence, the emails, the texts, the timeline of your actions. You didn't try to help your mother. You tried to rob her. The only reason you're walking out of here without a criminal investigation is because your mother is more merciful than you deserve. She signed the order. The 6-month no-contact provision was now legally binding. Jessica and Michael stood. Their lawyer gathered his papers, and they left without a word. I watched them go, these children I'd raised, these strangers I didn't recognize. Outside the courthouse, Maria was waiting. How did it go? It's over, I said. They can't touch me now. We went to lunch at a little diner I loved, the kind of place with good coffee and homemade pie. I ordered the meatloaf special. Maria got a chef salad. We sat in a sunny booth and didn't talk about Jessica or Michael or lawyers or threats. What are you going to do now? Maria asked. Live, I said simply. I'm going to live in my house, well, your house, and I'm going to plant a garden in the spring. I'm going to read all those books I've been meaning to read. I'm going to take that trip to Maine I've always wanted to take. I'm going to do whatever I want with whatever time I have left, and I'm going to do it on my own terms. Your house, Maria corrected. I'm just the person holding the deed. It's still yours, Mrs. Hartwell. It'll always be yours. You've earned it, I said. When I die, it's yours free and clear. No strings attached. You treated me like family when my actual family treated me like a burden. That's worth more than any house. The 6 months passed. The no-contact order expired. I never heard from Jessica or Michael again. No calls, no letters, no attempts at reconciliation. I suppose once they realized there was no money to be gained, there was no reason to maintain contact. Some people might find that sad. I found it liberating. I learned something important through all of this. Family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up when life gets hard, and Maria showed up. Every Tuesday and Thursday, like clockwork, she came over. We'd have coffee, work in the garden, watch old movies. She never treated me like a patient or a job. She treated me like a friend. Her daughter, Sophia, started coming too, a sweet girl, 16 years old, who'd sit at my kitchen table doing her homework while Maria and I talked. She reminded me of Jessica at that age, before money and ambition corrupted everything good in her. Mrs. Hartwell, can you help me with this history essay? Sophia asked one afternoon. Call me Patricia, I said. And what's it about? Women's suffrage movement. I spent an hour telling her about my grandmother, who'd marched for the right to vote, who'd told me stories about fighting for basic human dignity. Sophia listened with wide eyes, taking notes, asking questions. When Jessica was her age, she'd been too busy with her phone to listen to family stories. Life became simpler, quieter, better. I did take that trip to Maine. Maria and Sophia came with me. We drove up the coast, stayed in little bed and breakfasts, ate lobster rolls, watched the waves. I took photographs of everything, not for social media or to prove anything to anyone, but just to remember, to capture moments of genuine joy. On the last night of the trip, we sat on the beach watching the sunset. Maria turned to me and said, "Thank you for trusting me, not just with the house, but with everything." "You earned that trust every single day," I replied. "Some people are born into families, others build them. We built ours." A year after the courthouse hearing, I got a letter. Not from Jessica or Michael, I never heard from them again, but from Jessica's daughter, my granddaughter Emma. She was 23 now, graduated from college, living on her own. "Dear Grandma," it read, "I know Mom and Uncle Michael said terrible things about you. I know there was a legal fight. But I've been thinking a lot about what happened, and I asked to see the court documents. Mom didn't want me to, which made me more determined to find out the truth. I read everything, the emails, the texts, the depositions. I'm so sorry for what they tried to do to you. I'm sorry I didn't reach out sooner. Would you be willing to have coffee with me? I'd like to hear your side of the story. Love, Emma." I called her the same day. We met at that little diner I loved. She cried when she saw me, apologized for her mother, told me she'd confronted Jessica about everything. They weren't speaking now either. I don't want you to damage your relationship with your mother because of me, I said. Grandma, she damaged that relationship herself when she tried to steal from you, Emma replied. I can't respect someone who'd do that to their own mother. We've had coffee every month since then. Sometimes Sophia joins us. 2 young women, different families, same values. They've become friends. It's not the family I was born with, but it's the family I built. And it's more than enough. I'm 74 now. My house, Maria's house, is exactly as I want it.